What if you could walk through chaos, calm? What if no insult, no rejection, no failure could shake you again? Imagine becoming immune to drama, immune to disrespect, untouchable in your peace. This isn't about ignoring life. It's about mastering it. There's a switch inside you waiting to be flipped. And once it is, you'll never see the world or yourself the same way again. Mastering your reactions. You've felt it. That simmer beneath the surface when someone crosses a line. When a plan falls apart. When the day unfolds in ways you didn't expect. That heat rising in your chest. That urge to snap, to lash out, to reclaim control in the most immediate way possible. But here's the truth. The moment never truly owns you, unless you let it. What owns you is not the insult, or the delay, or the disrespect. What owns you is your reaction to it. And that, whether you see it or not, is entirely your choice. You don't need to explode. You don't need to run. You can stay right there in the middle of the storm and choose your response. That's where real power lies. Not in force, not in fury, but in presence. To stand still when the world tries to shove you. To speak with clarity when others shout just to be heard. That is strength. And strength doesn't always make noise. Imagine a moment where someone tries to shake you. A stranger's rudeness. A coworker's betrayal. A friend's careless words. Now imagine your peace, standing untouched. Their chaos passes through you, never finding a grip. That's not coldness. That's composure. You made the decision long before the moment came. No one gets to own your state of mind but you. You prepare for these moments in the quiet hours. Before the noise. Before the tests. You train your eyes to see clearly. You train your thoughts to settle like still water. You walk into each day knowing storms may come. And yet you refuse to be swept up in them. You ground yourself, not by avoiding life's friction, but by building a mind that doesn't flinch. Fix yourself in a room where tempers flare and voices rise. You're not part of it. You observe. You understand. But you don't get dragged in. You respond only when it serves purpose. That's not indifference. That's leadership. That's power under control. Because the loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. Often, he's just the most frightened. There's no honor in being triggered by every small slight. No wisdom in needing to respond to every provocation. Ask yourself, what do you gain from proving yourself to people who don't even know who they are? Why let strangers steer your emotions like puppets pulling strings? You weren't made to bend with every breeze. You were made to hold your shape in the face of pressure. When you master that, when your reactions belong to you and you alone, you walk differently. You speak less, but your words carry more. You do less, but your steps leave a mark. That is the man the world remembers. The one who could have broken, but didn't. The one who chose stillness over spite and clarity over chaos. And in doing so, became unshakable, directing your focus. What unsettles your peace isn't always the chaos around you. It's the spotlight of your own attention. The mind, left unguarded, wakes up chasing shadows. Before your feet even hit the floor, you're already tangled in worry, replaying conversations, anticipating conflict, doubting outcomes. The moment you give that chaos your focus, it grows roots. Whatever you feed with your attention, you grow. You don't simply see with your eyes. You see through the lens of what you choose to dwell on. The world isn't just what it is. It becomes what you make of it. When your gaze stays fixed on the cracks, the whole wall looks broken. But when you look for the structure holding it up, something changes. You begin to notice the strength. You begin to build on it. Consider how two people can face the same moment and walk away with completely different truths. One feels defeated by the rain, curses the sky, and retreats. The other sees an opening, soil softening, seeds ready to be sown. The event is the same. The outcome is shaped by what they chose to focus on. That difference, it's not luck. It's training. It's awareness. It's choosing, again and again, where to place your mental energy. You can train your mind to look for the next step instead of the next threat. You can teach yourself to tone down the volume of noise and tune into clarity. It starts with asking better questions. Not why is this happening to me, but what can I do with this? Not what's missing, But what can I build? This is how you move from survival to leadership, from reaction to intention. Now imagine living a day where your energy doesn't leak through frustration or distraction, where your time isn't burned worrying about other people's opinions or comparing timelines. Instead, your attention is focused on creating, improving, building something that matters, even if it's just your own mindset. That kind of focus doesn't just help you accomplish more. It makes you harder to shake, harder to distract, harder to defeat. You're not here to chase every problem or entertain every thought. You're here to choose. And every time you choose where to place your focus, you shape your reality, using stillness over noise. You wake each day in a world that never stops moving, not just emotion, but in noise, the kind that clutters the mind more than the streets. People are chasing validation, shouting over each other, filling space with noise just to feel something. In that chaos, the rarest man is the one who stands still, not frozen, focused. Stillness isn't an action. It's the deliberate absence of distraction, the ability to move with clarity, not compulsion. To be still is to be present, not dragged into the past by regret, nor flung into the future by worry. It's the quiet strength of being rooted exactly where you are, unmoved by the winds that toss others around. Imagine the mind as a calm lake. When undisturbed, it reflects the world with perfect clarity. But every thoughtless reaction, every worry, every emotional outburst, they are rocks thrown into the water. Ripples distort the reflection. And for many, the lake never settles. They live in constant motion, constantly stirred by everything around them. But you can choose to let the water still. Stillness doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. You don't rush into every fight. You don't explain yourself to everyone who misunderstands you. You don't let every small wave push you off course. You act only when action is needed. And when you act, it's with impact. Stillness gives birth to insight. In the pause, the truth reveals itself. You begin to hear your own thoughts instead of the noise around you. You begin to notice which actions are yours and which are just reactions borrowed from someone else's urgency. In that awareness, you reclaim yourself. You begin to live not by pressure, but by principle. Living by principles, not moods. There are mornings when the weight of the world presses harder than usual. Your body feels slow, your mind cluttered, and your drive distant. On those days, quitting whispers sweetly. Cutting corners feels tempting, but that's when it matters most. That's when you find out who's in charge. Your fleeting feelings, or the deeper part of you that remembers what you stand for. Moods are like weather, unpredictable, constantly shifting. But if you set a compass anchored by values that don't bend with the wind, you stay the course, no matter the storm. You don't ask, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this aligned with the man I want to be? One question keeps you floating. The other roots you in purpose. That purpose doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. Discipline over ease. Integrity over shortcuts. Patience over impulse. Not for recognition. Not for applause. But because your inner compass says so, you begin to trust yourself. You know that when temptation knocks, when pressure rises, you won't fold. That trust becomes your armor. Over time, it becomes your identity. You're disciplined. You are consistent. You are anchored, owning your inner world. There's a force within you, stronger than any storm outside. A place untouched by opinion, chaos, or noise. But most never go there. They walk around with a mind wide open to every inconvenience, every slight. But you're different. You decided to take the wheel. You understand. You can't control the world, but you can own how you meet it. You don't wait for happiness. You create it, not with noise, but with quiet decisions, moment by moment. You speak to yourself with respect. You guard your thoughts like precious territory. Because peace isn't handed to you. It's built. It's a discipline. A commitment to not letting temporary things wreck a permanent sense of who you are. So when someone disrespects you, when the moment tries to stir you up, you pause and you ask, do I really want to hand them the keys to my mind? Is this worth trading my peace for? That pause, that awareness, that's ownership. It's not weakness. It's mastery. replacing complaint with creation. Every time you complain, you hand your power away. You give your energy to what's wrong instead of what could be made right. You turn your focus from your hands to your wounds. And while you're busy pointing fingers, time just keeps moving. So decide to create instead. Build, fix, move. Everything changes. You stop echoing problems and start becoming the solution. Most people, they see what's broken and respond with noise. They talk, grumble, nod with others doing the same. It feels like movement, but it's just delay disguised as dialogue. You're not here for that. You're here to put your energy where it matters, into action. You see the same broken system, the same flaw, the same empty space. But where others point, you plan. Where they moan, you move. The world doesn't need more commentary. It needs more builders. People who answer gaps with grit, not grief. Every frustration is a signal, a call to rise. Don't like how something works? Work on it. Don't see what you need? Make it. You're not a spectator. You're the architect. You weren't meant to critique the cracks. You were meant to lay the bricks. So, enter the places others have abandoned. Bring your tools, your discipline, your vision, your effort, and begin. Real change? It happens in quiet, persistent action, when no one is clapping, when nothing guarantees success, except your refusal to quit. So when the next frustration rises, ask, will I be the one who complains or the one who creates? Every choice to create over complain stacks bricks beneath your own feet. Rise silently, build steadily, become the one people rely on when things fall apart, the one who shapes what's next, detaching from outcome, attaching to effort. You want success, you want peace, but the harder you clutch the outcome, the more it slips away. The more you obsess over where it's all going, the more you lose sight of what truly matters, who you become in the doing. Real freedom doesn't live in the finish line. It lives in the disciplined steps you take with no guarantees. Results thinking traps you. In applause, in numbers, in recognition. That's not mastery, that's dependency. And dependency always leaves you empty. So shift the focus. Aim for the rhythm, not the reward. The training, not the trophy. Show up because that's who you are. Give your best because it's the only way you know. Then, release the outcome. That is control of the highest order. Power rooted in process. Plant your seed. Tend it with consistency and patience. And stop ripping it from the ground every morning to check for progress. Joy must live in the doing, or it will never live in the having. Trust the roots. Stay loyal to the work. Let success be nothing more than the echo of your consistency. Practicing emotional mastery. Feelings arise. The sting of misunderstanding. The burn of anger. The knot of anxiety. They're real, but they don't get to drive. Emotional mastery isn't about suppression. It's about direction. Choosing clarity over chaos. Like a deep river, you can be smooth on the surface, while power flows beneath. Pause. Breathe. Put space between emotion and response. Ask yourself, will this build me or break me? Act with intent, not impulse. Feelings are guests. You are the host. When you become the leader, not the follower of your emotions, you are peace like armor. The world stays loud, but nothing controls you. Defining yourself by purpose, not by praise. Applause is loud, seductive, and fleeting. If your fire only burns when others watch, it dies the moment the lights go out. Purpose is quieter, but permanent. Root yourself in the work, not the recognition. Ask, if no one ever clapped, would I still build this? If the answer is yes, you're free. From that conviction, rejection can't touch you. Silence can't shake you. And your impact begins. Quietly, unshakably, authentically, accepting what you cannot change. Peace begins the moment you understand what's yours to shape and what was never yours to carry. Frustration doesn't move the rain. Regret doesn't rewrite the past. And people won't change just because you will them too. But your response? That's where your freedom lives. Like a blacksmith using fire to mold steel. Work with life's heat instead of cursing it. Redirect your energy. From walls that won't move to doors that just might open. Acceptance isn't weakness. It's refusing to waste strength on the unchangeable so you can pour it into what can become. Building the habit of delayed judgment. The mind wants to label every moment. Good, bad, right, wrong. But truth takes time. Premature judgment steals calm. It blinds you to hidden gifts. Today's loss might just free you tomorrow. So pause. Ask, am I reacting to the whole truth? Or just my first impression? By delaying judgment, you anchor in clarity, not emotion. And you move stronger, not just smarter. Mastering the power of routine. Life doesn't pivot on loud flashes. It's formed in invisible repetition, the kind nobody sees. Greatness is earned slowly, showing up when excitement fades, training when it's easier not to, living your principles on dull days. Routine is more than a schedule. It's a stabilizer. Wake up, move with purpose, follow the rhythm you've chosen. While others search for direction, you've already stepped into yours. While they look for energy, you're already building momentum. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's undeniable, and it's the quiet engine behind every extraordinary life. Keep your eyes on where you're going. Let that guide how you show up, how you move, how you endure. Because when your gaze is fixed on the mountain, clear, steady, unwavering, no stone beneath your feet can shake your step. Developing the power of persistence. People often mistake success for brilliance, for talent, for some hidden advantage known only to a lucky few. But most of the time, it's not that at all. The real difference? Persistence. Not loud, not glamorous, but strong, unshakable. Persistence is the ability to keep going when nothing seems to work. To return again and again, long after the excitement is gone, and long before results show up. You've seen it. People start strong, talk big, dream loud. Then comes resistance, rejection, a crack in the plan, and they stop. They say, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. But the ones who make it, they don't stop. Not after the first failure. Not after the 10th. Not after the silence or the setbacks. They stay. They work. They endure. Persistence isn't about noise. It doesn't need applause. It looks like showing up at sunrise with no promise of reward. Doing the work no one sees. Staying loyal when no one claps. Like a farmer planting without a weather report. He doesn't wait for perfect conditions. He prepares for them. That's what persistence is. Preparation without proof. Effort without evidence. Picture this. A hammer. A slab of stone. Strike 1, nothing. Strike 10, still nothing. Strike 50, still no crack. Most walk away. But the one who stays? Who keeps swinging? On strike 101, the stone breaks. Not because that strike was stronger, but because every single strike built toward it. That's what your persistence does. It builds pressure. It builds readiness. And eventually, it breaks through. But here's the hard truth. You don't get to know when it will break. No countdown. No certainty. That's why most people quit. They confuse silence for failure. Struggle for a dead end. So ask yourself, have I truly given this everything? Or just everything that was convenient? Because persistence means pushing past comfort. Staying loyal to the process when results are nowhere to be found. And no, persistence doesn't guarantee success. Life doesn't promise that. But quitting guarantees failure. When you stop trying, the door closes. But when you keep going through the dry spells, the doubt, the delays, you keep the door open. You give yourself a chance. So hold the vision. Keep swinging. Keep planting. Keep showing up. Because in the end, success isn't just about talent or luck. It's about who stayed, who endured, who kept going when others let go. Be that one. Let your persistence be the reason the stone finally breaks. Guarding your mental space. Your mind is not just a place where thoughts pass through. It's your foundation. It's where your focus begins, where your peace lives, where your power grows. But like anything sacred, it must be protected. Left open, unguarded, anything can enter. Fear, doubt, bitterness, distraction. And if it enters unchecked, it takes root. One careless thought becomes a pattern. One small insecurity becomes a belief. One whisper of fear becomes a story that runs your life. Think about it. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your home, track dirt across the floor, tear paintings off the wall, and sit uninvited at your table. But how often do you allow that same kind of intrusion in your mind? How often do you let worries settle in? Without question, let someone's careless words echo for days. Every thought carries energy. Every idea shapes something. And if you're not intentional, the mind becomes cluttered. Not by accident, but by neglect. Your mind is like a garden. Leave the soil alone, nature fills it with weeds. Thoughts work the same way. Without intention, the loudest voices win, even if they don't deserve to. If you want peace, you have to plant it. If you want clarity, you have to clear space. Be mindful of what you consume, what you repeat, what you believe. Not all thoughts are true. Not all feelings are facts. Some are just noise. And your strength lies in knowing which ones to let pass. Picture your mind as a fortress, not walled off in fear, but protected with care. The gates don't swing open for everyone. You choose what enters. You choose what stays. Feed it discipline, not distraction. Give it silence, not noise. Don't entertain every worry. Don't let resentment move in. Because once your mind is clear, once it's guarded and focused, there's very little in the outside world that can shake it. Ask yourself again and again, what am I letting in right now? Is this thought building me or breaking me? Is it helping me grow or keeping me small? These questions sharpen your awareness. They create space. And in that space, choice is born. Because the real battle isn't out there. It's in here. If your inner world is steady, outer conflict loses its grip. You control what you let in. You control what grows. So treat your mind like sacred ground. Not everything deserves a place there. Be ruthless with what you allow. Be selective with what you plant. And over time, that inner garden will bloom. Quiet, powerful, unshakable, answering with stillness. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every invitation to chaos is worth accepting. Sometimes, the strongest response is none at all. Not because you're afraid to speak, but because you've already chosen peace over performance. Because you understand that your worth doesn't live in proving anything to anyone. When someone lashes out, when criticism shows up uninvited, when you're baited into a battle you didn't ask for, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what do I gain by reacting? Most of the time, the answer is nothing but noise. Now ask, what do I protect by staying steady? Your energy, your clarity, your integrity, and maybe most valuable of all, your peace. Stillness is not silence born of fear. It's silence rooted in wisdom. You don't need to raise your voice to show strength. You don't need to match someone's chaos to prove your presence. When your inner world is calm, it speaks louder than any outburst ever could. People notice. They feel it. They lean in, not because you demand attention, but because your restraint carries power. This doesn't mean you never act. It means your actions are chosen, not triggered. It means your words come from clarity, not ego. You know the difference between reacting to protect your pride and responding to protect your peace. So let the wind howl. Let others throw their storms into the air. You stay rooted. Breathe deep. Speak less. Think long. Because your calm is more than a shield. It's a message, a standard, a reminder that in a world addicted to reaction, the one who holds their stillness holds the power. Stay grounded. Let others blow away with the wind. Making reflection a daily practice. We live fast. The pace of life demands motion. Always chasing the next task, the next goal, the next distraction. And in that rush, days blur, weeks dissipate, and we keep moving without truly arriving. You work, you push, you perform. But in all this motion, when do you stop to look back? When do you give yourself space to understand what any of it meant? Because without reflection, life becomes a treadmill. You move, but you don't necessarily get anywhere. You repeat the same patterns, carry the same frustrations, fall into the same mistakes. You react without seeing, and slowly, quietly, you drift from the person you're trying to become. But the moment you pause, even just for a few quiet minutes, you begin to reclaim your awareness. Reflection isn't indulgent. It's essential. It sharpens your mind like a blade against stone. It slows your racing thoughts, not to stop you, but to steady you. In that stillness, you start to see with new eyes. You see how you showed up, where you led, where you shrank, where you let things in that didn't deserve your peace. You see your growth. You see your gaps. You see where you need to rise next. Each evening becomes more than just the end of another long day. It becomes a mirror, a quiet conversation with yourself. You ask, not with judgment, but with curiosity. What did I learn today? What challenged me? What got under my skin that maybe shouldn't have? What am I proud of? What do I want to carry into tomorrow? What needs to be left behind? These questions are your compass. They don't just point you in the right direction. They remind you who you're becoming. Because in a world that constantly pulls you outward, reflection brings you home to yourself. It reveals the blind spots you didn't know were holding you back. It catches the small wins you might have overlooked. It keeps you grounded in your values, even when life tries to knock you off balance. Imagine this. You end your day not just exhausted, but aware. Not just drained, but deepened. You don't fall into bed wondering where the day went. You lay down knowing what it taught you. That's the quiet power of reflection. It doesn't make the storm disappear, but it makes you steadier inside of it. Because the more you understand yourself, the less the outside world can throw you off. Most people live reactively. They move without pause, caught in a cycle of motion and noise. But when you choose reflection, you choose to live with intention. You become deliberate. You start shaping your days, instead of being shaped by them. So ask yourself, am I learning from my days, or just surviving them? The answer to that question could change your entire life. Because when you reflect, you grow. When you grow, you calm. And a person who truly knows themselves is a person no storm can move. Pressure doesn't create your character, it reveals it. Anyone can seem calm when everything is going well. When the skies are clear, the plan is working, and everyone is kind. It's easy to wear the mask of composure. But life doesn't stay calm. It changes. It stings. It surprises. The real test comes when the tide turns. When a meeting goes sideways. When someone crosses the line. When you're blindsided by the moment you didn't prepare for. That's when your true self walks into the room. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can let the fire consume your reason, fuel your ego, drag you into reaction, or you can stand still, not frozen, but grounded, deliberate, steady. That is grace under fire. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's the decision to be bigger than the moment. You've seen what happens when people crumble under pressure. Voices rise, tempers snap, and chaos spreads like sparks in dry grass. But you've also seen something much rarer. Someone who stays composed, who doesn't flinch, who navigates the same storm with clear eyes and a calm voice. That person doesn't raise their voice. They raise the room. That's what grace looks like in real time. Grace under fire isn't about pretending nothing's wrong. It's about knowing exactly what's wrong and choosing not to become it. It's not silence for silence's sake. It's choosing the right word, the right action, at the right moment. It's the strength to pause when everything in you wants to explode. The discipline to walk away when pride tells you to fight. The wisdom to lead when everyone else is looking for someone to follow. Imagine being that person. In the middle of the crisis, voices clashing, tension boiling. You're the one breathing steady. You're the one people look to, not because you demand attention, but because your presence commands it. That kind of leadership doesn't shout. It doesn't posture. It earns respect through calm, control, and consistency. Ask yourself, when the pressure builds, do I rise with the heat or rise above it? Do I let my emotions steer the ship, or do I take the wheel with a steady hand? Because anyone can meet anger with anger. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can mirror chaos. But grace is rarer. It takes more strength to stay kind than to strike back. More power to stay composed than to lose control. And the people who master that response, they don't just keep peace, they build reputation. A reputation that doesn't need defending. A strength that doesn't have to be loud. An influence that doesn't fade with the storm. When the fire comes, and it will, let it reveal what you've built in quiet moments. Let it show the discipline you've cultivated, the calm you've trained, the values you've chosen. Because reactions fade, rage dies out, but respect, once earned through grace, That leaves a mark time doesn't erase. Let that be your standard. Not perfection, but presence. Not noise, but clarity. Let pressure bring out not just who you are, but who you're becoming. Waiting with strength, not fear. You wait, but not out of fear, not out of hesitation, not because you're stuck. You wait from a place of strength, because when you finally act, it won't be out of panic, out of desperation, or out of pressure from the outside world. It'll be from a place of mastery, a place of calm, a place of clarity. Waiting with strength is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's choosing your moment instead of chasing one. It's recognizing that timing is part of power. Anyone can react fast, but not everyone can wait with their eyes open, their heart steady, and their mind clear. Most people rush, not because the time is right, but because they are trying to outrun their fear. But you've learned something different. You've learned that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, strength is still. It's patient. It's measured. And while the world tells you to move faster, you've realized there's power in standing still. On purpose. Because waiting isn't idleness. It's preparation. It's pausing, not because you're lost, but because you're building, listening, learning. You are not stalling. You are studying. You're preparing yourself to respond, not react. To rise, not flinch. To act with depth, not just speed. And when the time comes, you'll be ready. Not perfect, not without nerves, but anchored, because you didn't rush through the waiting. You respected it. You used it. That's strength. Team challenges as character builders. Now let's talk about the hard parts. The challenges, the friction, the resistance. Most people run from those. They flinch at discomfort. They dodge the pressure, and they call it peace. But more often than not, it's just avoidance. Real peace isn't the absence of challenge. It's the ability to stand firm within it. You've started to understand something that most miss. The path of least resistance. It doesn't build much. Not strength. Not character. Not depth. It's the strain, the struggle, the grind. That does the real shaping. Struggle isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Yes, it arrives uninvited. Yes, it's often uncomfortable. But when you meet it, with open eyes, steady breath, and a willing heart, it transforms. It's no longer punishment. It becomes preparation. It doesn't just test you. It builds you. If you let it, the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Everything begins to shift. Every hardship becomes a mirror. It reflects your weak points, your blind spots, the parts of you that haven't grown yet. But it doesn't stop there. It also gives you the tools to change them, to strengthen them, to evolve. When life presses in, it's not trying to break you. It's trying to find what's real in you. Because the only way to discover your true self is through resistance. Picture a blade. Left untouched, it stays dull. But run it against stone, apply pressure, grind it down, and it becomes sharp, precise, lethal, in the best way. You are no different. Without the grind, there's no edge. Without the fire, there's no tempering. You've already faced storms that could have broken you, but they didn't. You're still here, stronger, sharper, more aware. That wasn't an accident. That was evolution. And the more you stop running from discomfort, the more you realize the friction isn't in the way. It is the way. That doesn't mean you seek suffering. This isn't about glorifying pain. This is about no longer retreating when challenge knocks. You don't fold. You don't shrink. You engage. You breathe. You study it. You ask, what part of me needs to grow to meet this? That question alone holds power, because it turns hardship from a wall into a forge. Now, fix your focus on the version of yourself you're becoming. The one who handles pressure with poise, who meets conflict with clarity, who doesn't crumble when the weight gets heavy. That version of you isn't born in comfort. It's forged in the fire of everything you once tried to avoid. And truthfully, most people won't do this. They'll keep turning away. They'll blame. They'll numb. They'll distract themselves from anything that demands growth. But you've chosen a different path. Not because it's easy, but because it's honest. Because it demands something from you. and gives something far deeper to you. It gives you growth. It gives you truth. It gives you a strength that doesn't fade when life gets hard. So the next time something difficult enters your life, don't run. Don't resist it right away. Pause. Look at it. Let it show you something. Let it stretch something inside of you. Then, step toward it, even if you tremble. Because the moment you stop avoiding the struggle, you stop being owned by it. You move from survival to strength, from reaction to response, from fear to freedom. You welcome the weight, not because it's easy, but because you know who you're becoming under it. And that's worth every step through the fire.